Hey, what's going on, guys? I know you've been patiently waiting, and I've been kind of putting it off as I've been working on other things, but it's time to get back to work and we can finish up the Barbatos. But the first thing that I'm going to do here, normally at this stage, once I've got all the base painting done, is I'll go give everything a coat of just gloss coat before going in and doing the lining and detail painting and stuff. But I want to go in and do some of the detail painting on the frame first, and then we'll give it a gloss coat and then go in and do more detail painting and more lining on this and then on the armor as well. So basically just going to work on detail painting on the armor ahead of time, and like some of the other parts here for the weapons I've taken out as well. So I just want to do some of this before and then some after, basically just not really for any particular reason. So I'm just going to be pulling out a few different enamel paints, Tamiya enamel paints that I typically like to use for my detail painting, and just a small brush here. Just because I keep forgetting that I have this brush, I'm going to use this brush here from SMS. So this was one of the ones that Scott at SMS was so kind to send me for a sample. It's the smaller brush here of the two. This would just be the #1 brush here from SMS, just in case anyone's wondering for reference. So the first color I'm using here is some XF22 RLM gray, and I'm using this on like the opposite hydraulic, like the hydraulic intake part. It's like this part here where the chrome hydraulic part will plug into, and like here at the bottom of the leg as well. Alright, next gonna use some of this XF19 sky gray here for the piping bits, which would be like, you know, around on the limbs and stuff. These things like on the back of the legs here like this. So just hand painting a light color over a pretty dark color like this is kind of difficult. So just basically gonna give it like a light pass over first and let that dry, and then I'll have to go over it again with kind of a second coat basically. So so here's how it's going to look after one coat, and then I'll just give that some time to dry. Alright, and after the second coat, there it is. Now you see it still looks like uneven because I still left like some of the holes there, but that's because after it's got some gloss coat on it, I'm going to go over this with Pentaline wash and all the little lines will be filled in. So I didn't worry about filling in all the little lines with the gray paint because that's where the Pentaline wash is going to go, but the main flat part of this is all now covered where it needs to be covered. So that's it for that color. Just for another example, let me show you what that looks like on the pipes on the arms there as well, and the RLM green on the part on the back of the arm. Now we can move on to some smaller details as well. Next up, I'm going to use some X32 titanium silver on the joint parts. So this part like here, this part here, this pattern going around the rounded part of the joint there. And this particular part is one that I could have easily just painted on its own. I don't need to hand paint this, but for some of the other parts like this one, which I've already gone ahead and done, see, I just already went ahead and hand painted that in, and that will work just fine. You could have, I mean, I could have sprayed that, masked it and sprayed it, whatever, but I'm just hand painting it in just because I'm lazy. Alright, so I'll continue on with a few more colors here, but just one more I'll point out to you. Specifically here, there's the metallic gray I'm going to use for some of these details on here. There we go, it's going to look something like that. So I'm going to continue on finishing up some of these parts here, and then we'll give it some gloss coat and then move on with the panel lining. Alright y'all, so here it is. Alright, so a lot of the detail painting is done. Still a lot more to do though, especially on the outer armor parts, but now everything is gloss coated and we can move forward with some panel lining and finish up the detail painting. Now for the panel lining on the armor, I'm planning on using some Pentaline accent color brown here, and then we'll use a little bit of black on some of the frame bits as well. Oh, and also I decided to add these little white details on a couple of armor pieces, so basically I just masked them off and then just sprayed a little bit of white paint on there, so, or off-white I guess I should say, but This is just something that I've seen a few people do on Twitter, and it looks pretty cool, so I wanted to try it. Alright, so I'm finishing up the panel lining and just a little bit of detail painting here left to do on this, and we can start on the waterside decals. So I'm going to wrap up this video pretty soon here because there's not really too much else to show or talk about here for the actual Barbatos. I'll just show you a couple sections of the build here just so you can see how it's looking, and just keep in mind this is all with gloss coat on it still, so it's going to look a little bit different obviously once it's got flat coat sprayed on there, but let's go through and show you some of the decals I'm going to be using here. So luckily Bandai does make this official decal sheet here for the Barbatos, well sort of for the Barbatos, just for Iron Blood Orphans in general. So from here basically I can take like the Tekadun logos, and there's the ASWG08 logo down there, and a couple of little bits I can take off this for like the main markings. Then for all the other markings, gonna I think primarily be using here these from HIQ, white and gray. So these are both in gray and white, they're just different style sets, so I'll just be drawing some decals from both of those. And then I have a few smaller sets here, I'll probably take a few from. This set is, what was this from? This was like just a set that someone picked up for me from some past Wonderfest or something like that, I think. This is just a smaller set of like the same ones that 1/100 scale. This is the 1/44 scale set of those gray and white decals. And these are from Vertex. This one is specifically like Nazca branded, but they're like the same things. These are larger scale. This is like a smaller set. And so like for stuff like the weapons, I'm gonna use one or two of these yellow and black or yellow and white logos or something like that. These just sort of like markings. I'll maybe stick a couple of those on maybe one of the weapons or something, the cannon basically. So the Barbatos is pretty much done here. The work in progress videos are not going to be quite over because I am going to do one more thing that I'm going to share with you guys in the next work in progress video, and that is going to be going over this here. And what this is going to be a resin character figure that I'm going to be pairing up with this build. So I've done that in the past where I've done builds where I've had like a resin this figure character along with the build, and I haven't done it for a little while, so I wanted to do it with this build, and I have a perfect one which will go really well with this. So in the next video I'll cover how to make one of these, so look forward to that. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you for the next work in progress pretty soon. Bye bye.